You're listening to Winnipeg's Classic 107. My name is Simon Rusnak. As we heard earlier this week, Virtuosi is back. And this weekend, they kick off a series of concerts with a program titled Side by Side, featuring cellists Yuri and David Liam Roberts. To learn more about the show, they've joined me both digitally. Hello.
Hi.
Oh,
Hi,
it's so
Simon.
great. It's so great to see you both. Thrilled to have you back on Classic 107. Of course, you've both been on many a time before. Yuri, this is a concert being billed, at least on Virtuosi's social media channels, as a sort of master apprentice story. Yoda and Luke Skywalker, Mr. Miyagi and Daniel LaRusso. What do you think it is that we love about these types of things, the master apprentice student teacher?
First of all, I'm not sure. Am I Yoda or?
I was waiting for you to say that.
What is so appealing about it? I mean, I think one of the things that really appeals to us, and I think one of the things that we're really wrestling with right now is what do we do with the past? What is our relationship to the past? And I think that is one. And I think because we like to think of ourselves nowadays as kind of free agents, but of course everything that we do is built on what came before us, and some of those things we are proud of, some of those things that we are not proud of, and so when we have this. When we highlight this kind of relationship, we're really asking ourselves, what is our relationship to the past? What do we want to keep? What do we want to move on from?
Yeah, I think that's exactly it, right? That idea of mentorship and passing on traditions and practices, like you're saying. For you, as you started approaching this, did you think about that at all? Like, I mean, it must just be a thrill to be working alongside your longtime pupil.
It is a thrill for sure. And did I think about that initially? No. that it really is. You get an email or somebody talks to you about an opportunity, and as a musician, you're just always yes, another gig. And it's particularly one that you know is going to be enjoyable and going to be at a high musical level. That's always going to be really exciting. So that was really my first thing, and then just thinking about, okay, well, what are we going to do? And then you're just looking for good repertoire, and then some of the connections then kind of come later afterwards after you've stumbled into some cool program.
So before we get to that repertoire, David Liam, I do want to ask you, I can't tell you how many times we've had you in the studio back when I was in the studio, ahead of or following a major competition or a young artist program, many of which you were awarded a top prize. And your musical star has been one on the rise, one that we've followed through your local, national, and international successes. How does it feel to be back here in Winnipeg working with Yuri again? You studied with him for 8 years, right?
Yeah, I mean, I studied with Yuri for like that very formative time in my life, age 10 to 18. So, um, I've studied with lots of teachers, fortunately, but with Yuri, like it was something special. So yeah, to play with you, Yuri, in this concert was just incredible, and super thankful to be back in Winnipeg. I'm always happy to be back in Winnipeg, but I didn't expect when we were first planning this concert that I would kind of be forced to be in Winnipeg during a pandemic. But yeah, I'm very thankful, and I think the audience will really enjoy this concert because Yuri and I had tons of fun playing together.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. You're now based in Toronto, typically studying at the Glenn Gould School at the Royal Conservatory of Music. Can you tell us a little bit about this past year? I mean, like you mentioned, you didn't see yourself being here. It's been well, 2020 was quite the year. Can you just kind of give us a brief recap in terms of what you've been up to through these past few months?
Sure. Well, I mean, the last year has kind of been a whirlwind. I, when the pandemic kind of first hit North America, I was jetting off to St. John, New Brunswick, where I was supposed to play as soloist with the New Brunswick Youth Orchestra. A very exciting opportunity, and I got there, and literally the day after I got there, it was announced that everything was going to be shut down and that like the concert wouldn't happen. So I ended up having to fly back to Toronto, and then it kind of became clear that everything was uh, not getting better right away. So I came to Winnipeg, and in the fall I had the opportunity to do some concerts in Nova Scotia. A few colleagues invited me to play some concerts there. So that was exciting, and now I'm back here, and so I'm thankful to be continuing to perform in a time where a lot of people, it's just not possible to perform live. And so I was thankful to have that kind of live performance taste again. But this is still really special to be performing a recorded concert and for it to reach my, home audience in Winnipeg, and hopefully a broader audience as well, since it's on YouTube.
I'm sure it will. Yuri, I want to come back to you, and I do want to talk about the repertoire. You're both great cellists at different stages in your careers. How did you go about tackling this? Was it a joint effort? Were you, as the teacher, saying, "All right, let's maybe give this a whirl," or was David Liam saying, "Hey, you know what? I dug this one up. Maybe we should give." How do you tackle that?
It was actually quite collaborative. Sometimes, yeah, basically just a back and forth of emails. I had the idea to play the Popper Suite because I've been wanting to play it for a while, and I was reminded of it when I found an old YouTube video actually of the 75th birthday anniversary or the birthday celebrations of my teacher Janos Starker, which occurred in my very last month in Indiana when I was studying there, and they made a recording of a whole 150-person cello orchestra playing the Popper Suite for two cellos, arranged for this huge cello orchestra. And I found this. I had found this video online, just stumbled across it, and there I am. You can see me for about 1 second in the video. This young Yuri hooker without any facial hair and no gray hair, and and so it was. So that's why that piece was in my mind, and I had always wanted to come back to it, and nobody ever plays it because it's so difficult. And so I was really thrilled that we could have this opportunity to play it. And then I think David Liam mentioned that he was playing the Boccherini, which works really well with two cellos. And I think David Liam also suggested the Barriere that we're going to be playing. So I think that, it just kind of came together and through a collaborative effort.
No kidding. I mean, it sounds like that's exactly what happened. To go back to the David Popper, I mean, he, of course, wrote that series of studies, the Etudes. David Liam, are those things that you remember playing with Yuri in the studio?
Yes, definitely. It was a major part of my cello education in Yuri's studio. So yeah, there's 40 of them, and I think I managed to get through either all of them or almost all of them with Yuri. So yeah, big part of my education. I mean, a lot of teachers use it as a method, and but Yuri used it a lot. And when I started studying with one of my current teachers, Hans Jensen, he always referred to me as the Popper Master. So I would attribute that to Yuri.
I was going to say that sounds like a cap in both, or a feather in both of your caps there. Does it sort of remind you? I know these aren't the Popper studies, but does it sort of remind you in a way of the lessons? Does it take you back to that time, kind of sitting side by side, as I imagine that's how they'd be structured? Does that kind of take you back to then, David Liam?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure. It's so much fun playing alongside Yuri, and one of the highlights of my lessons with Yuri was Yuri playing along with me, just like playing the piano part or like the orchestra part in a concerto, and that's just such a highlight for a young student, especially, and so it feels like this is just like a glorified version of that. This is kind of like playing a full length concert alongside Yuri is very cool.
Yuri, I want to ask you about the Luigi Boccherini. He an important name for cellists. Can you tell us a little bit about this piece of music? I mean, it's a cello sonata, not originally written for two cellos, right? Can you tell us about what it was originally written for, and then how Luigi Boccherini himself might have performed it?
Right. I mean, yeah. So Boccherini wrote many sonatas for himself to play, and he wrote them when he was a very young traveling virtuoso. So he would have been probably around David Liam's age or younger even. And he was really one of the first cello virtuosos. He completely transformed cello technique. Nobody played as high as he did, and he basically also revolutionized just even how the cello was set up. It kind of forced a different construction for the cello because people wanted to play as high as Boccherini. But this sonata that David Liam is taking the lead on is the best known Boccherini sonata. Most people know it, though, as in a version for cello and piano, which would have been foreign to Boccherini, not least of which because the piano wasn't a popular instrument yet at that point. But because when he composed it, he had in mind to play it probably, we don't know for sure, but probably with his father playing the second part on bass. He probably traveled around Europe with him and accompanied him, chaperoned him on his travels, and then performed with him. And although the piece works really well with the second cello, and it's certainly possible that he wrote it with the second cello in mind instead of a bass. We just don't know.
And so we're going to see it in that similar sort of fashion. We're going to see it with, the virtuoso show part, and then also the support that you offer and the encouragement that way. Very much that student teacher mentoring relationship, I think, going to be on full display in this show. The last composer I do want to ask about is the last fellow on the program. We've kind of worked our way backwards here from the 19th century, early 20th century with David Popper. Before that, Luigi Boccherini. Who would like to say a word on Jean-Baptiste Barrière? Because I'm not sure who this fellow is. David Liam, did you suggest this one?
Yeah, I mean, he was a famous cellist, a French cellist, and he was, I guess, one of the first French virtuoso cellists, very, very early on in the cello's kind of history. So he wrote a lot of like cello sonatas and especially cello duos, which is what one of which we're playing. And this one is probably the most popular of his duos. It's super fun. The last movement especially is just like a lot of cellists love to play it. It's kind of like when people think of cello duos, they think of that piece. So yeah, I felt like I hadn't played it yet. I just really wanted to play it. So
And you
yeah.
found just the cellist to perform it with.
Yes.
Well, I want to thank you both so much for taking the time to chat with us at Classic 107 today. It most certainly sounds like a very special and a very wonderful show to kick off this brand new series, the camera series, the online series that Virtuosi is putting together. So thrilled to connect with you both.
Thanks, Simon.
Thanks so much.
My pleasure. Side by Side goes online this coming Friday, January 22nd, 7:30 p.m. For more information, you can visit virtuosi.mb.ca. We've also got details up at classic107.com. And oh yeah, I should probably mention, this show is free. You got to check it out. Mark it on the calendar. And of course, it will stay online. So much to look forward to.